Welcome back to the channel, and today we're taking a look at the brand new American Blade Works Model 1 button lock. This is a very exciting one, I think, because it's the first time we've seen a thumb stud from American Blade Works. Before, the original had a flipper tab, it had the drop point, and then they did the warning. As you can see, I like the Model 1 a lot, and I like American Blade Works a lot. The thing I like most, besides the aesthetics of his knives, are these are 100% made in the US. He has a small machine shop in his garage that he produces most of these parts, and then he outsources some like hardware and stuff from the US. So every single piece of this knife is made in the US. That's awesome to see, and it's something I like to show on the channel. Now, of course, being that it is all made in the US, this is basically a mid-tech. It's going to have a premium price tag. We will talk about that later. So what you got here is, like I said, a thumb studded version of the Model 1 with the button lock. You got a beautiful drop point blade. This one has the step milled pattern on the steel, as you can see there. I like the step milling. I think it's attractive looking. And then he has a stone wash over that. This is a perfect size for EDC in my opinion. It's coming in at 7.92 inches overall with a 3.25 inch drop point blade of CPM MagnaCut steel, and he puts a proper heat treat on it. I think it's 63, 64 if I'm not mistaken. It's either that or it's in that range where you want to see it, and that means this thing should perform outstanding. We will find that out in just a second. Even have a perfect little sharpening choil right there. That plunger grind comes all the way to the back right here. So you're going to get a lot of sharpening life, and then if you ever need to open this up more, you just take a diamond file or a Dremel and you can go up with it. Love that. You don't have to have a huge open gap right here that you can get hung up on materials when you're cutting. Awesome to see. Another awesome thing to see, you can see that thumb stud is out of the cutting path, so you won't get hung up on that either. You do have a slight little ramp right here with some jimping. I call it moderate traction. If you like super aggressive jimping, this one's not super aggressive. It doesn't really matter to me too much on my folders. Your tip, you have a pretty needle-like tip right there. Great for piercing. It is a high drop point. You can use that tip, but you're going to have to come up a little bit higher. I find myself just using that little portion in the belly to do a drag cut. Not the biggest deal. You got a nice bit of straight edge, do in-hand cuts. And another thing that makes this knife, in my opinion, shine over a lot of other knives is his geometry from his grind right here. He's got a pretty high flat grind. You do have a small portion of flat right there. It comes down nice and thin at around 15 thousandths behind the edge. Plus, it has a 17 degrees per side edge bevel on it. So this thing should slice very, very well. Let's find out. Man, oh man, this thing is slicey. I have no idea right now what this what the blade geometry is on this thing, but man, you can just tell, you can feel it is gliding through the material. It came very, very sharp out of box, and as long as everything's done well, I don't see it having any problems whatsoever. But so far so good, no doubt about it. Nice and slicey. Now we're going to test the ergos, and we're going to see how that edge wants to bite into this piece up behind. Start out really light, and then we slowly start to increase pressure. I gotta say the handle is nice and comfortable. There's no crazy choils or anything, no crazy humps. The pocket clip stays out of the way of my palm, and I'm able to get a lot of force into the wood comfortably and with a lot of power. So excellent job there. My medium-sized hands, no hot spots. Always good to see. Now, even though it's a higher tip drop point, you can still use that belly to do the drag cuts. I just try to use the tip to see. But man, even though this is sped up, it is blasting through this material. And it's got a nice aggressive edge to it. It's making sharp work of the 10-ounce denim. And it just doesn't feel like it's slowing down at all. We'll probably cut a little bit more sisal rope than normal, but so far I'm very, very happy. Yeah, just look at this. It's push cutting. And I'm using that pointed finger grip to show you how sharp it is. That means I'm using very minimal pressure to get through this 1/2 inch sisal rope. And this rope is a nightmare. So it's always a pleasure whenever it cuts through the rope without as much pressure than most knives do. When I'm using that pointer finger grip, it keeps me from having blisters, but you will see me go back and forth just because my fingers start to cramp up whenever I'm holding a knife like that. But man, yeah, at this point, I got a big old smile on my face because it's always nice whenever I can do all these tests and at the end of it, the knife still feels sharp. We end up getting through, I think I only cut one piece. We get through 280 cuts with no problem whatsoever. And we cut all that other stuff. I think that's great. And this isn't an edge retention test. It's just making sure there's no failures or anything with the apex, or making sure there's no large chips, or making sure the heat treat's pretty solid. But still feels super sharp at this point. We will test that edge out once we're done, but I was definitely happy with the way this one performed for me. We're gonna keep cutting and cutting. But yeah, that one good thing about having that higher tip drop point, making these cuts, is a breeze because you have that belly you can use. You get more contact area on the material you're cutting. So slicing cuts are gonna be way easier. Draw cuts or pull cuts, should I say, if you're using that belly, are gonna be nice. Rocking motion cuts are gonna be good. So there's a lot of benefits to the higher tip drop points and the higher points on a knife. I particularly prefer a tip that's at the center line of the pivot or below. Usually right at the center line gives you enough belly to do pretty much any type of cutting you want to do, but this one's still very, very usable because you got enough straight edge to do in-hand cuts really easily. And yeah, the whole entire time using this knife, I had absolutely no problems. I didn't expect to have any because I've tested, I think, 3 or 4 American Blade Works knives so far, and they've all been great. So I knew this one wouldn't have been any different, especially knowing that he heat treats these to the proper HRC. So excellent job. Couldn't be happier. All right, let's check the edge out after all the cutting. Feels great. Yeah, look at that, man. That's crazy. Awesome. Now let's take a look at the deployment and action of this knife. It is a thumb-studded knife, dual-sided thumb studs that are accessible on both sides. And the action on this thing, beautiful. I mean, it's got a crisp break to it, nice and snappy, nice and smooth, riding on bearings. Very, very satisfying action. Yeah. Now this handle is another thing of beauty. So you have this beautiful step milling pattern on the scales. As you can see there, it's even in the inlay right here. Beautiful. This is Brittany blue, like a Tiffany blue camo carbon. He has 3 different camo carbons you can choose from. Then you have his American Blade Works pivot that is captured, as you can see there, and your body hardware, nice and crisp screws there. And as you can see, it has a reversible side on that clip. Now, with the hardware, I was super excited to see you have a Torx T15 for that pivot. Nice and gigantic pivot. It is a hardened pivot as well. Unfortunately, he went with T6 for the body screws and the clip screws. I'm not too sure why he did that. I will say though, his hardware is top notch. I've never had any of my other stuff strip on me at all from this one. And this one he's using the mushroomed screws on here. This was the tap head or flathead screws. But I noticed on this newer one, he also used the mushroom head. Doesn't really matter. It's quality hardware. I wish it was T8 or higher. I kind of like it all to be the same. So whenever you're doing maintenance and stuff like that, you don't have to switch drivers, but not the end of the world. If that's the only thing, whatever. You do have a milled titanium pocket clip. Like I said, it is reversible. I do think he could have put a filler tab in this side just to keep it cleaner looking. Maybe even put this milling pattern over the top, kind of like this inlay. That would have just made it even cleaner looking. You have a geared titanium backspacer, as you can see there, and it's almost flush. You can feel it, but it's not really doing anything as far as grip goes. And one thing that I love seeing on this, and something that I'd like to take some credit for it, because with this Model 1, the pocket clip, this was, his original design. The pocket clip was very, very tight. I couldn't get it in and out of my pocket all that well. So I took mine, and you can see those lines right underneath there. I did that with a Dremel, and I was trying to basically put a relief cut underneath that pocket clip to let it have a little bit of better flex. And me and Michael from American Blade Works talked about it, and he said he would look into it and he would give it a shot. And I don't know if you can actually see it, but there is a small relief cut in the back right here of that pocket clip. So I'm not saying, he did it because of me, but something we did discuss. And this pocket clip, perfect, absolutely perfect. Goes in and out of the pocket nicely. Does have a little bit of a texture that's going in and out on, but it's not a pocket strap. I can promise you that. Got enough ramp for my jeans. If you wear super thick jeans, you might have to lift it up. I don't really know. I don't have anything that's that thick. Blade is perfectly centered, as you can see there. And we have a bunch of skeletonization on the inside, and look at all that on the bottom. Being this is a button lock, you can do way more skeletonizing, and he did everything he could to bring the weight down as much as possible. Bring it to 105.2 grams or 3.71 ounces. Outstanding. The lockup on my knife is, when I say rock solid, and I have spine whacked this thing very, very hard. I'm not going to do it right now. It's way too early, and I don't want to wake up everybody in my house. But just trust me, it has excellent engagement. You can see that, how low it is. There's absolutely, I cannot muscle any up and down, any left or right. This thing is probably one of the tightest button locks I have in my collection. Super tight. As soon as you release that button, it's a free dropper. Love seeing that. Quick size comparison with the Ontario Rat 1 and 2. Next, we got the Hogue Ritter RSK and Mini RSK. Next, we have the Spyderco PM2 and Para 3. And it's almost identical in length to the Medford Slim Midi and the Benchmade 940. All right, now for my nitpicks and complaints, and these are mainly just nitpicks, but I would have loved to see the same size hardware throughout, or at least make these T8 instead of T6. That would have been really nice, but like I said, I've taken apart my original one many times, and I've never had any problems with any of his hardware stripping out on me. And the only other thing on this knife that it's just something that kind of bugs my OCD tendencies that I have is the blade to handle ratio. You could fit a good bit of blade in there, but if you look, I'm guessing it's because this slopes down right here, and because it's a higher tip drop point, if I want to stick my finger in there, I can catch that blade like that. Not saying I would ever do that. If I did like this, I'm good, but I can grab it. So if it was further down, it would probably, the tip would be sticking out. So I understand why I did that. I think it would have been great to make that drop point come down a little lower, and it could have come out a little further. On this one, it's whenever you close it, you don't see as much because the backspacer wraps up, and this one doesn't. Not a big deal. But all that said, I absolutely love the knife. If you're looking for a high quality, excellent performing, USA made folding knife that is as premium as they come, and in my opinion, these go for $349. I think they're worth every single penny. Now, they are hard to get. He's a one-man band. He doesn't outsource, all kinds of stuff. He's trying to get his processes down as fast as possible. Now, this is a newer model, so these are going to take more time, and he likes to update things when he sees something, try to make it better and better. He did a whole bunch of different variations on this. That's awesome to see, and there's nothing I like more. So, like I said, if you're looking for an heirloom quality knife, one that is an outstanding slicer, is going to perform great, you're not going to have to worry about this magnet cut rusting on you because it's a highly corrosion resistant steel. It's a tough steel, and it holds an outstanding edge. This one kind of just blew me away. The performance on this thing is next level, and I cannot wait to see what American Blade Works does from here. Great job on this one. And let me know what you think. If you have any questions in particular, feel free to ask me down below. I'll do my best to answer them. I will link American Blade Works site down in the description. Like I said, these are sold out at the moment. He does drops with some of the big dealers. You can follow him on Instagram, and he notifies people on Instagram, and I think he has a email reminder as well on his site. So go check that out. Love the knife, and I can't say enough good things about it. I hope every one of y'all is having an absolute amazing day. I will see y'all on the next one.